You guys will never believe what happened. I just turned 18 like 5 days ago, and being an adult is already a total thrill ride. I'm living in this charming rural town, chasing my dream of becoming a graphic novelist. And there's this guy, Henry, who runs a workshop down the road with this retired mechanic, vibe think silver hair, steady hands, and eyes that could fix anything. So tonight I was feeling super bold, and I did something totally wild. Picture this. I show you up at his workshop after hours, just as he's locking up, and the vibe? Electric. Want to know how it played out? Keep watching, because this story is all about bold moves and sparks that fly brighter than a welding torch. Like and subscribe for more. Sarah had just turned 18 5 days ago, and the rush of her new adulthood felt like a fresh panel in her sketchbook, ready for daring lines and vivid colors. Her small house in the rural town of Oak Ridge was her creative haven, filled with pencils, comic drafts, and the earthy scent of fields drifting through open windows, where she poured her heart into her dream of becoming a graphic novelist. The milestone of her 18th birthday was like a spark igniting her courage, freedom to take risks, chase passions, and make choices that felt thrilling and new. Her latest comic panel, a figure leaning against a workbench under dim lights, reflected her restless energy, its lines sharp and bold, much like her own life right now. But lately, her thoughts kept drifting to Henry, the quiet mechanic who ran the workshop down the road, whose steady presence had become a distraction she couldn't shake. At 63, Henry was a retired mechanic with a quiet focus that had caught her eye since she started visiting his workshop for odd jobs a few months ago. His silver hair was slightly tousled. His deep green eyes carried the weight of years spent fixing engines, and his hands, calloused from years of wielding tools, moved with a calm precision. His afternoon, Sarah, from behind the counter, paired with a rare smile, made her heart skip. She'd told herself it was nothing, just admiration for a kind, older man who'd spent his life repairing things that others gave up on. But her just turned 18 confidence fueled a boldness she couldn't suppress. And tonight, that boldness led her to his workshop after hours. The last light of the day faded behind the windows of the small workshop, the rural town quiet except for the distant hum of crickets. Inside, the smell of oil, sawdust, and steel lingered, and Henry was wiping his hands clean after a long day, his flannel shirt rolled up to his elbows. He was locking up when a soft knock echoed through the door. Turning around, he saw her, Sarah, standing just outside with a small smile, her silhouette framed by the fading dusk. "You're still here," she said softly, stepping inside before he could answer, her sneakers quiet on the concrete floor. Her simple sweater and jeans hugged her frame, her hair loose, and her hazel eyes glinted under the dim workshop lights. He gave a small laugh, setting his rag down, his green eyes meeting hers with a mix of surprise and curiosity. "Usually am. What brings you here this late?" Sarah's fingers brushed over a nearby workbench, tracing the edge of a half-finished engine part, her heart pounding with her just-turned date and confidence. "I just turned 18, she said, her voice warm but teasing, her eyes locked on his. "Thought I'd see what you work on when no one's around." He smiled faintly, his usual calm suddenly uneven, leaning against the workbench beside her. "You're trouble," he said, his voice low, tinged with amusement. "Just turned 18 and you're sneaking into my workshop after hours?" The air in the workshop felt different, like wider, heavier, the hum of the lights above fading into the background. She leaned against the bench, close enough for him to catch the faint scent of her lavender perfume. "You're really good at what you do," she murmured, her voice soft but deliberate. "I've always wanted to see this side of you." The tools, the silence, even the faint creak of the workshop seemed to fade, replaced by the pulse of flirty tension neither expected. Every movement, every glance felt deliberate, the moment simmering with unspoken possibility. Good trouble, I hope, she said, her voice playful but charged, her eyes holding his. The best kind, he said, his tone steady but his gaze intense, the workshop alive with a spark neither could ignore. The next morning, Sarah woke in her house. Henry smiled, lingering in her mind. Her dreams tangled with the memory of the workshop, the way his eyes had held hers under the dim lights. She shook it off, blaming her impulsiveness. But her thoughts kept drifting to him as she headed to her part-time job at a local cafe. Work was busy, sketching comics during breaks, but every time her phone buzzed, she hoped it was him. Around noon, a text came through. That visit last night? Got my tools in a twist. Impressive for an 18-year-old troublemaker. H. Her heart skipped and she smiled, typing back. Just turned 18, so I'm allowed to shake things up, right? His reply was quick. You're shaking up plenty. Coffee later? I owe you for keeping my workshop. Interesting. Her pulse raced and she hesitated, her fingers hovering over the keys. She should keep things simple, play it safe, but her just turned 18 heart was bold, hungry for the spark she'd felt last night. You're on. I'm at the cafe till bring your best repair story. That afternoon, Henry walked into the cafe, a small wrench tucked in his back pocket, his grin disarming as he slid into a booth. Thought I'd bring a story, as requested, he said, pulling out the wrench and setting it on the table. His fingers brushing hers as he handed her a napkin, the contact sending a spark up her arm. Sarah laughed, her cheeks flushing as she examined the wrench. You're spoiling me, she teased, leaning across the table. First your workshop, now your tools. What's next? He shrugged, his green eyes twinkling. Maybe I'm just trying to keep up with the new 18-year-old down the road. You're making waves already. Her heart raced, and they talked. The cafe's home fading as their conversation flowed, her comic sketches. His years fixing engines, the way their workshop encounter had shifted something between them. The tension was a constant undercurrent, every shared laugh and glance adding to it. Sarah's mind wandered to the way the workshop had felt alive last night, the way his presence had warmed her, and she wondered how far she could push this newfound boldness. Your trouble, he said, his voice low, leaning forward, his elbow brushing hers on the table. Just turned 18, and you're already turning my evenings upside down. She grinned, her heart pounding. Good kind of trouble, I hope. His smile was slow, knowing, a spark of mischief in his eyes. The best kind. They lingered in the booth, the wrench between them, and Sarah found herself opening up more than she'd planned. Her fears about her comics not being good enough, her excitement about being 18, her dreams of seeing her work in print. Henry listened, his eyes steady, his presence grounding her like a well-tuned engine. You've got something special, he said, his voice sincere, his gaze unwavering. Your comics, they're bold, like you. Don't let those doubts hold you back. The world needs your stories. Her heart swelled, caught off guard by his encouragement, the warmth in his words wrapping around her like a cozy blanket. Thanks, she said, her voice soft. That means a lot. The next day, Sarah's nerves were electric as she prepared for a town flea market where Henry was selling refurbished tools. She'd volunteered to help, curious about his world, and wore a simple blouse and jeans, her sketchbook tucked into her bag for breaks. When she arrived, Henry was setting up his stall, his green eyes lighting up when he saw her. Glad you made it, he said, handing her a box of tools, his fingers grazing hers. Didn't expect you to be an early bird after last night. She grinned, setting her sketchbook down. Just turned 18. Gotta keep you on your toes. The flea market was lively. Locals browsing under colorful tents, Henry's voice warm and steady as he explained his tools. Sarah watched him, mesmerized by the way his hands moved, confident and precise, like an artist with steel instead of pencils. When he helped her arrange a display, his hand brushing hers. Her heart skipped the contact electric. "You're a natural," he said, his voice low, his eyes catching hers. "Got an artist's touch even with tools." "Thanks," she said, her cheeks flushing, their faces close. "You're not bad at this, though you're terrible at keeping your distance." He laughed, stepping back, his eyes twinkling. "Maybe I don't want to keep my distance." Her breath caught, the air charged with unspoken possibility. "Careful, Henry," she teased, her heart pounding. "I just turned 18. I might take that personally." His smile was slow, knowing. "Maybe I want you to." The flea market stretched into the afternoon, and Sarah lingered, helping Henry pack up. They talked about her comics, his favorite repairs, the way their town felt like a canvas of its own. Every glance, every brush of their hands as they packed up added to the tension. A tightrope she was eager to walk. Over the next few days, Henry became a constant in Sarah's life, slipping into her routine with an ease that thrilled her. He'd stop by her house with extra tools for her to sketch, his grin betraying the excuse. They'd text late at night, sharing snippets of their lives, Henry's stories of fixing vintage cars, Sarah's dreams of publishing her graphic novel, her sketches taking on a new vibrancy inspired by their connection. Each interaction was laced with flirty tension, a push and pull that left her dizzy. One afternoon, Henry invited her to a local library to browse art books, claiming he needed her eye for a new repair manual with diagrams. "Thought you'd like the vibe," he said over the phone, his voice warm, "and I'd like your company." She agreed, her heart fluttering as she chose a dress and sneakers, her sketchbook in her bag for inspiration. The library was quiet, shelves packed with books, the air filled with the scent of paper and coffee. Henry was at her side, his presence steady, his stories of old workshop days making her laugh as they wandered the aisles. They shared a laugh over a quirky art book, their shoulders brushing as they reached for it, the contact electric. "You're good at this," she said, her voice teasing as they paused at a display of graphic novels, making a library feel like a comic panel. He grinned, picking up a book and flipping through it. "Takes one to know one." "You're not exactly boring, Sarah." She laughed, nudging him playfully. "Just turned 18. Gotta keep things interesting." His eyes twinkled, and he handed her the book to browse, their fingers brushing, the moment stretching as the library faded away, leaving just the two of them. "This one's bold like you," he said, his voice low, his smile warm. Her cheeks flushed and she smiled, her heart racing with her just turned 18 confidence. She wanted to lean closer, to push the boundaries further, but she held back, savoring the spark, the way it made her feel like her comics were coming to life. One evening, Henry invited her to his workshop for a private repair lesson, claiming he needed her opinion on a new technique. Sarah hesitated, her heart racing at the idea of being alone with him again. The memory of their after-hours encounter still vivid, but her curiosity won out. As she stepped into the workshop, the scent of oil and sawdust enveloped her, the space lit by soft overhead lights, creating a cozy, intimate vibe. "Hey guys," Sarah said, her voice bright but with a playful edge, as if speaking to her imaginary audience, her eyes glinting with mischief. "We're about to get into this spicy portion of the story, so please don't forget to like and subscribe." She grinned, setting her sketchbook on a workbench, the air already buzzing with anticipation as she turned to Henry, her heart pounding with her just-turned 18 confidence. They stood by the workbench, a half-finished engine part between them, and talked her latest comic panels, his repair projects. The way their workshop encounter had sparked something new. The workshop felt alive, the memory of her bold move lingering like the scent of steel in the air. "Sarah," he said, his voice low, leaning forward, his eyes steady, "I'm not just here for the tools or the coffee runs. You know that, right?" Her heart stuttered, her breath catching, the memory of their workshop chat flashing in her mind. "I suspected." He reached out, his fingers brushing her wrist, light but deliberate, the contact sending a shiver through her. Good. Because I'm not good at pretending I don't want something. And I want to know you. Really? Know you. She swallowed, her voice unsteady, her heart pounding with the thrill of her own daring. Your trouble, Henry? Maybe, he said, his thumb tracing a slow circle on her wrist, the touch sparking something new. But you're not running. Just turned 18, and you're already breaking all the rules. She laughed, a shaky sound, and leaned into the moment, the heat of his touch igniting a fire in her just-turned Anton heart. Maybe I like breaking them, she said, her voice playful but honest, her eyes locked on his. He smiled, his eyes twinkling with a mix of amusement and something deeper. Good, because I'm starting to like it too. The following week, Sarah's life felt like a comic panel bursting with color, each moment with Henry adding new lines to her story. The cafe was busy, but he was a constant distraction, his presence lingering in her thoughts like a half-finished sketch. He'd started leaving notes with his tools, small handwritten things tucked into boxes. Found a part today that reminded me of you. Too bold from a workshop? Or bet I can guess your favorite comic by the end of the week. Kent, it's not sci-fi. H. Each note made her smile, her heart race, her just-turned-teen confidence growing with every interaction. Her coworker Emma noticed, cornering her at the cafe during a lull. Henry, huh? She said, her tone teasing but cautious, her eyes narrowing. He's got you all flustered. Be careful, Sarah. I'm just having fun, Sarah said, but the words felt hollow. Her mind replaying the warmth of his workshop, the spark of his touch. She wasn't sure what she was doing, only that Henry made her feel alive, like a character stepping into a bold, new arc. One night, they met for a quiet evening walk through the countryside, Henry claiming he needed to clear his head after a long day. Thought you'd like the inspiration, he said, his voice warm. And I'd like your company. She agreed, wearing a jacket and jeans, her hair loose, the fields glowing under soft moonlight as they wandered. The path was quiet, the air filled with the scent of grass and earth, their calm beauty mingling with the cool breeze. Henry was at her side, his jacket brushing her arm, his stories of fixing old tractors making her laugh as they passed a glowing barn. You're good at this, she said, her voice teasing as they paused by a wooden fence, making a walk feel like a story. He grinned, his eyes catching the moonlight. Takes one to know one. You're not exactly boring, Sarah. She laughed, nudging him playfully. Just turned 18. Gotta keep things interesting. They stood by the fence, their shoulders brushing as they watched the stars, the tension a constant undercurrent. Sarah's heart raced, her just-turned 18 confidence urging her to lean closer. But she held back, savoring the spark, the way it made her feel like she was living in one of her comics. One night, they met for a late-night coffee run at a 24-hour diner near the town, the streets quiet around them. The diner was all neon lights and retro booths, the air filled with the scent of fries and coffee. They sat across from each other, sharing a plate of fries, Henry's presence steady, his stories of quirky repair jobs painting vivid pictures in her mind. But the tension was a constant undercurrent, every shared laugh and glance adding to it, the memory of their workshop encounter lingering like an unfinished sketch. You're different, he said, his voice low, leaning forward, his elbow brushing hers on the table. Just turned 18, and you've got this. Fire. It's hard to look away. Her cheeks flushed, and she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, her heart pounding. Good. I don't want you to look away. His laugh was low, warm, his eyes twinkling with a mix of amusement and something deeper. Careful what you wish for. They lingered in the diner, the fries growing cold, and Sarah opened up more than she'd planned, her fears about her comics not measuring up, her excitement about being 18, her dreams of seeing her work in print. Henry listened, his eyes steady, his presence grounding her like a perfectly tuned engine. You've got something special, he said, his voice sincere, his gaze unwavering. Your comics, they're bold, like you. Don't let those doubts hold you back. The world needs your stories. Her heart swelled, and she smiled, caught off guard by his encouragement. The warmth in his words wrapping around her like a cozy blanket. "Thanks," she said, her voice soft. "That means a lot." They walked back to the town, the night air cool, the stars bright above. At her front door, Sarah turned to face him, her keys dangling, her heart pounding. The memory of their workshop encounter, the bold move that had started this spark, flashed in her mind, and the tension between them felt stronger than ever. "You're making it really hard to keep this." "Neighborly," she said, her voice a mix of teasing and truth, her hazel eyes locked on his. Henry stepped closer, his hand resting on the doorframe above her, his body close enough to feel his warmth, his presence steady but electric. "Neighborly's overrated," he said, his voice low, rich, carrying the weight of their shared moments. "What do you want, Sarah?" Her mouth went dry, her heart racing with the thrill of her new adulthood. What did she want? Safety, simplicity, the life she knew? Or this him, the thrill, the fire he ignited in her just-turned Dayton heart? "I don't know," she whispered, but her eyes lingered on his lips, betraying her. The memory of their workshop encounter, a quiet pulse in the back of her mind. He smiled, slow and knowing, his green eyes warm but intense. "You do, and I'm not going anywhere until you say it." She laughed, a shaky sound, and stepped back into her doorway, clutching her bag like a shield, her heart pounding with the possibilities of her new adulthood. "Good night, Henry," she said, her voice soft but charged with unspoken promise. The spark between them brighter than the stars above. His laugh was warm, promising, his eyes locked on hers as he leaned back. "Good night, Sarah. But this isn't over." She closed the door, her heart racing, the memory of the workshop, their encounter, his touch lingering like a sketch she couldn't erase. As she leaned against the door, she smiled, her just-turned Dayton heart ablaze with the thrill of what might come next. Knowing she was ready to keep pushing the boundaries of her new adulthood, one bold move at a time.